Aw, no L
I think
button.
Scott regrets the L button guy.
I want to recount justice for L button.
Rest in peace, the L button dream.
Fine. I'll do it myself.
What's up everyone, it's me, the biggest nub on YouTube, Christendo here, and buttons! Who doesn't like buttons, am I right? Video game controllers have evolved a lot over the years. We started with a single joystick with the Atari 2600, to a controller with the D-pad and 2 buttons with the NES controller, to now having whatever the f this is. Buttons are essential to have on a game controller, as without them it's physically impossible to control a game, unless it supports yelling at the screen. There's only one button that is more important, more crucial than any other button. A normal idiot would think this is the A button, but they're wrong. The most important button ever known to man has to be the L button. The L button has become a crucial part to every hardcore gamer's moveset, as it's had uses like shielding and grabbing in the Super Smash Bros. Series, locking on enemies in Metroid Prime, and using items in Mario Kart. To say the L button is practically useless would make you a moron, as without this button, one would not be able to do some truly game-changing actions. This magnificent button has been used for many different reasons over the years, but the question is, which iteration of it is the best? Obviously for this experiment, I have to stick to Nintendo. I mean, look at the name of the channel you're watching here. I'm gonna go through every generation of Nintendo systems and give each L button a rating of 1 to 5 Pogtendos, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. This will help us determine which L button is deserving of the name, and which ones are an absolute disgrace to your average L button enjoyer. Let's just knock the first two out of the way, the NES controller and Game Boy. These two are a total letdown to our cause here, and you want to know why? They have no L buttons! Due to the lack of any L button on these two, each of these will get a score of 1 Pogtendo. Now we're getting somewhere. The SNES controller was the very first gaming controller to include shoulder buttons, and it did a damn good job of doing so. The L button on this controller is in just the right spot to be easily accessible at any time, and it just feels nice and satisfying to click. Unfortunately for the SNES controller though, its uses for the buttons are kinda niche, as many games at the time didn't require multi-button movesets. It did however get some uses like to hop in Super Mario Kart, drift in F-Zero, scroll the screen in Super Mario World, or to aim down at an angle in Super Metroid. While the L button here may not have gotten too many uses, where it was used helped improve gameplay drastically, and to open up the door for the L button to get many more uses later down the line. The SNES controller gets 4 Pogtendos. To this day, this controller continues to disappoint. The Nintendo 64 controller is such a weird one. Everyone knows this controller looks wacky as hell with its layout, and for the case of our sweet L button, it drastically hurts this controller. But the controller does have an L button, it's so rarely used outside of actions like taunts in Super Smash Bros, so it might as well just not have been included here. Add on to the fact that when you're holding the controller the normal way, the L button is pretty much inaccessible, then you know this controller is going to fail in delivering the desire to click the button. On the rare chance you may have to click the button, it feels fine enough to click, but it doesn't have the same satisfying quality the SNES controller had. The Nintendo 64 controller is super underwhelming to this cause, so it gets a measly 2 Pogtendos. The Game Boy Color, another disappointment. No L buttons, 1 Pogtendo. The Game Boy Advance, however, now we're getting somewhere. While it may not feel as good as the SNES controller, the L button on the GBA is still in a great spot to be easily accessible, as well as feeling good to push. The button once again has minor uses in games, like being used to control the left flip in Mario Pinball Land, or using items in Mario Kart Super Circuit, but more notably, it can also change the aspect ratio of Game Boy games to widescreen by stretching out the game. You're a menace to society if you do this. While this L button may not be as great as the SNES one, it still left a good impact on the L button's legacy, so it gets 3 Pogtendos. Spoiler alert, this is where the L button peaks. The GameCube controller is often regarded by many as one of, if not the best controller ever made. Yeah, the same could be said about this controller's L button. To start, this L button is an analog trigger, allowing for you to control the pressure of things by how much you push it down, as well as making a satisfying click when you press it all the way down. Just like all the other L buttons going forward, it's positioned in a good spot to make it easily accessible, and the GameCube controller has indents on the button where you put your finger, making it far more comfortable to push. The button is once again used to throw items in Mario Kart Double Dash and shield in Super Smash Bros. Melee, but it's also used to lock on enemies in Metroid Prime, and to control the camera and Pikmin in Super Mario Sunshine. Overall, the GameCube controller has one of the best iterations of the L button, so it's worthy of getting the perfect score of 5 Pogtendos. Did you think I just have an OG fat DS laying around? What do you think I am, an imbecile? The DSi L button. It's quite the L button, alright. It's in a good spot, as by this point Nintendo has figured out how to make good button layouts, but this one is noisy. This time it's used to do stuff like using items in Mario Kart DS, and to do camera movement in Super Mario 64 DS. Wait, didn't this button just do the exact same thing on the GameCube? It's also used in unison with the R button to open up the camera on the DSi, and thanks to this additional use, I think the DSL button deserves 3.5 Pogtendos. The Wiimote's L button. Wait, where's the L button? How am I supposed to play Action Girls Racing now? Guess that's 1 Pogtendo for the Wiimote. The 3DS L button is just another fine one. It's not as noisy as the DSi, which could be either positive or negative depending on your preference, and its overall uses are fairly similar to previous renditions of the button, being used in unison are to open the camera app, to use items in Mario Kart 7, grabs in Super Smash Bros. For 3DS, the usuals. But it has a game-changing use in Super Mario 3D Land, as by using the L button, you can crouch. Holy but jeepers! This L button is just another basic bitch L button, so it gets 3.5 Pogtendos. Holy shit, it's a tablet with an L button! This controller, if you want to call it that, is definitely on the bigger side because of the fact it has a damn screen, but that doesn't change the fact the L button is still easily accessible, thankfully. Uses for this button, there's using items in Mario Kart 8 or grabbing in Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. Wait, were these the exact same uses it had on the 3DS? Yeah, the Wii U may have experimented a lot, including with Nintendo's stock value, but it didn't do much in terms of innovating the L button. 3 Pogtendos. And finally, Nintendo's latest console, at least for another year, the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con, specifically the left one. We love Joy-Con now. It has uses for things like using items in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, grabs in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. It's the same damn thing! I want this button to do something unique! It makes funny noises when you press it to unlock your Switch. Three Pogtendos. So after looking at Nintendo's history with the L button, I gotta say I'm a bit underwhelmed. I mean, this button does some interesting things in games and home menus for the systems, but overall it doesn't do much outside of providing a few extra movement options. I'm starting to think, is the L button not as good as I thought? Is it maybe one of the more useless buttons on a controller? Nah, it's still the greatest button ever, and I think it should go spread the word of its truly remarkable achievements.
The hell?
Hello, sir. Do you want to hear about the best video game button of all time, the L button?
So I go out in hopes of spreading awareness of how great the L button is, and I come home with a restraining order and 5 months of house arrest. Woo!